Good morning, everyone. My name is Nicholas Reid from Reid Corporate, and on behalf of Minerals 260, ASX ticker MI6, it's a great pleasure to welcome you to this special RRS investor webinar. Thanks very much for your time. Well, we last featured Minerals 260 just before the company listed on the ASX in October last year, following a $30 million IPO, which followed the spin-out of the non-lithium exploration assets of the leading lithium developer, Liontown Resources. A lot has happened since then, with Minerals 260 hitting the ground running with a major drilling program at the company's flagship Mura project in WA's Julimar province, located some 95 kilometres north of Chalice Mining's world-class Julimar discovery. Minerals 260's Managing Director, David Richards, had in fact pegged this ground several years before the Julimar discovery, and with early drilling by Liontown before the demerger revealing some exciting gold results, there has been considerable anticipation about what this first phase of drilling might reveal. Those results are now in, and they've been released to the market in a series of important announcements by Minerals 260 in recent weeks. Without stealing David's thunder, I think it's fair to say that he and the Minerals 260 team are very excited about what they've found so far, and even more excited about where the next phase of drilling could take the company. Before handing over to David to tell us more, I'd like to remind everyone who's listening in that you're most welcome to log any questions that you'd like to put to David. Please use the Q&A tab on your webinar browser, and remember to put them in while David is speaking so that I have time to put them to him after he finishes presenting. I'll now hand over to David Richards, Managing Director of Minerals 260, to run us through where they're up to and what we can look forward to over the coming weeks and months. Welcome, David.
Thanks, Nicholas, and good morning, everybody. As Nicholas has indicated, today I'm going to be providing an update on the results of the exploration work completed by Minerals 260 since the company listed in October last year. The emphasis will be on the Mura project, and the thing I want you to really take away from today's presentation is the significance of the results we've got so far and why we're so excited by them. The standard disclaimer, which I won't dwell on, but as always, this presentation is available on our website, and if you do want to study this page in more detail, then I suggest you go there later on. Again, as indicated by Nicholas, Minerals 260 was formed to hold the non-lithium assets of Liontown Resources, which is now developing the world-class Kathleen Valley lithium project. Because of the Liontown connection, the MI6 board is largely made up of current and former members of the Liontown board, myself being the former member. I was previously the Managing Director of Liontown. But we have Anthony, Tim Goyder, of course, and Craig Williams from the Liontown board as well. And recently we've been joined by Emma Scottney, who brings additional skills, business skills to the Minerals 260 board. So we have a board that can not only oversee the discovery of mineral deposits, it can oversee the development of mineral deposits. Obviously, the main assets for Minerals 260 are the Mura and Coogin projects. They're located in the Julimar mineral province of southwest Western Australia, about 150 kilometres north-northeast of where we are at the moment. It's a large land position. We have 1,000 square k's. Before we picked up the ground and started working on it, it was largely unexplored. We've spent about $4 million since listing in October last year, and importantly, we delivered on our IPO strategy with significant mineralisation intersected at a number of prospects. And one of the key points of difference between us and a lot of other companies, I think, is our cash balance. We have about $25 million cash in the bank, which means that we can maintain the exploration momentum at Mura and our other projects. And also, if a new opportunity comes along, it's the right opportunity, then we can act accordingly. It's been a busy time. Since listing, we've intersected significant copper and or gold mineralisation at 4 prospects. The mineralised trends remain open at all of those and need following up. Because we've been in the Mura, the same people have been operating in the Mura and Coogin area for a little while now. We've built, I think, pretty good relationships with the local farmers. They've come to realise that we're professional about how we go about our work. So we're looking to actually have a small winter drilling program and across some of the prospects which are located on the edges of the cropping areas. In addition to Mura and Coogin, we have a couple of other projects in the portfolio at Dingo Rocks, We've completed a couple of phases of geophysical surveys down there, and we've identified what we think are becoming drill targets. And at Yalwest in the northwest Yule, the tenement's now been granted there. We've completed the initial reconnaissance and we're preparing to do some first pass geochemical sampling. So moving on to Mora and Coogin, as I said before, it's a large land position. Importantly, it's a contiguous land position. The tenement blocks is one tenement block. It's not piecemeal tenements here, there and everywhere. It means we can actually do seamless exploration across the project area. Along with Chalice and Caspin, we're one of the early movers in the region. And what I mean by that is our initial land position was picked up before Julimar was discovered. Because we were there early, we picked up what we thought was some of the better ground, and this has been reflected in our drill results. We've had a good success rate. We've got 3 main prospects. We've had 3 out of 3 when it comes to follow-up drilling. So the high hit rate, the limit of exploration work that's been done in the region to date really does highlight the potential for a significant discovery in the area. It really hasn't been that hard to get some good results there. And beyond the prospects that we've drilled already, we have a number of high order targets which we're looking forward to getting in and doing the initial drilling on as well. We've identified 3 prospective trends on our land position. In the west, we have the northern extension of the Julimar trend where we've already identified a number of targets. Further to the east, and a parallel trend, the Mount Yule corridor. This is the area where we've done most of our work. It's where the discovery zones of Mynt, Zest and Angepena are located. In addition to these, recent gravity work has identified a very large gravity feature. It's 10 by 3 kilometres long, which we refer to as the Mora gravity anomaly. We think this is probably going to be an important control on localising mineralisation, so this is a pretty exciting development. Within both the Julimar trend and Mount Yule corridor, we're waiting for thousands upon thousands of geochemical assays. We've done a lot more infill and first pass geochemical sampling. We've also done additional air core drilling, so have a lot of assays pending, which we're hopeful will lead to the definition of more drill targets. Further to the east, we have the historic Bindi nickel trend. This is an area back in 1968 where Poseidon, of all companies, intersected some very shallow but significant nickel results, which have never been followed up with deeper drilling. I mentioned the Mount Yule corridor. Its name comes from what we refer to as the Mount Yule magnetic anomaly. This is a large magnetic high. It's 7 kilometres long east-west, 2.5 kilometres north-south. Drilling across the Mount Yule magnetic anomaly has intersected significant mineralisation at 3 prospects. So at Mynt and Zest, we've got very significant copper-gold mineralisation at both of those prospects. The mineralisation styles appear similar. And at Angepena, we've defined a gold zone over more than 900 metres of strike. All zones remain open along strike and at depth, and we believe large parts of the Mount Yule magnetic anomaly remain to be adequately explored, so a very prospective target. Just zooming in on the prospects themselves, the Mynt copper-gold prospect. This was first picked up at the end of 2020 when shallow air core drilling intersected 9 metres of 2% copper in the bottom of the hole. We did drill underneath this hit pretty quickly. Unfortunately, we went straight into a barren dolerite dike, but we did some downhole geophysics that identified an off-hole conductor, which we came back and drilled earlier this year, and it intersected, you can see there, a nice robust 24 metres of 0.7 gold and 1.9% copper, including a higher grade zone of up to 14 metres, almost 3% copper. The mineralisation of Mynt is associated with a large geochemical anomaly, a 1.5 kilometre copper and soil anomaly, a 1 kilometre long IP conductor, which is only at this stage, the definition of that's only restricted by the amount of IP we've done there, so it remains open. And an accurate magnetic high, which we're not quite sure what it is, but we think it's important. All these factors combined indicate to us that we're dealing with potentially a large system, and obviously we're looking forward to getting back in there and drilling this as soon as we can. Zest, similar style of mineralisation to Mynt. In contrast to Mynt, this was a geological discovery. There is no coincident geochemical anomaly. We suspect it's probably because the sample spacing was a bit too wide. It was picked up by a line of shallow air core drilling along an existing track. One of these holes, hole 72 there, intersected anomalous, but not ore grade I should point out, anomalous gold and copper gold in a drill hole. It stood out significantly from the rest of the holes. We came in this again earlier this year, drilled a hole underneath it and intersected 12 metres of 2 grams gold and 1.4% copper, including that nice high grade zone there I've shown on the section. The true width of this mineralised zone is yet to be determined. Unfortunately, the pegmatite, a barren pegmatite dike I should point out, has come in and is true to the system and has actually stoped out mineralisation. So the mineralised zone may actually be significantly wider. So moving on to Angepena, this was our the first prospect we defined. It featured in our prospectus. Since listing, we've got back in, we've done additional drilling. We defined a gold zone over more than 900 metres of strike. Again, it remains open. We need to do more drilling here to get a better handle on the controls of mineralisation. So we're planning to do additional holes just to understand the trend and the orientation of mineralisation, after which we'll then do further follow-up. So just moving on to the regional picture of Mora. When we first started exploring at Mora, we focused very much on the magnetic anomalies. We did this because magnetic anomalies is one tool you can use to identify prospective mafic, ultramafic intrusions. And the only problem with that is not all mafic, ultramafic rocks are magnetic. So there's a potential that you could actually miss a lot of prospective rocks. So we came in earlier this year, we've completed a gravity survey over a very large area. And this gravity survey has defined a very large, 10 kilometre long, 3 kilometre wide, magnetic high, gravity high, which we think is caused by a very large mafic, ultramafic intrusion. And you can see here that the northern part of the gravity high is actually coincident with the Mount Yule magnetic feature. So it's sort of confirming that at least part of it is caused by mafic, ultramafic rocks. Importantly, the mineralisation that we've intersected to date appears to be focused on the margins of the magnetic gravity high. And we think this margin zone is an important control of mineralisation. And we've worked out, we probably have about 25 kilometres of this marginal zone around the gravity high. We've since done more detailed gravity, which will allow us to model the anomaly in detail and allow us to do drill testing, specific drill testing into the contact of the gravity high. So that's more, everything I've talked about so far is on our wholly owned ground. The Coogin JV is immediately to the west of the Mora project. As you can see, it's contiguous with the western boundary. It was acquired back in 2021, so 12 to 18 months after we started work at Mora. This means we're 12 to 18 months behind where we are at Mora when it comes to exploration work. We've focused largely this year on target definition work, so we've done multiple geophysical programs. We've done additional first pass and infill geochemical sampling. And we've also done a little bit of reconnaissance air core drilling. So we've got a lot of data to come, which we're confident will identify more drill targets. But early last year, we did do some work here on the Coogin ground. We identified a number of targets which we've followed up as well this year. And two of those targets, Bulbana and Mallory, look very interesting. So at Bulbana in the southwest part of the Coogin JV, we've identified a robust gold anomaly. It's 500 or 600 metres long, 50 to 100 PVB gold, nicely coincident with an IP anomaly. You can see there the red outlines the soil anomaly, the hot pink colour is the IP anomaly. So it could be suggesting we have some sort of sulphide system below the gold anomaly. Similarly, Mallory, this is a multi-element anomaly. It's plus 2 kilometres long. It's got coincident copper, gold and platinum group element anomalies and coincident with a large IP anomaly again. So two walk-up drill targets which we're looking to get in and drill as soon as we can. So next steps at Mora, we've obviously got the main prospects. We've already intersected mineralisation. We're keen to get in and follow those up and they look very exciting. We have at least 10 other targets which are drill ready, including Mallory, Bulbana and hopefully the margins of the Mora gravity anomaly. And beyond that, we've done a huge amount of target definition work. So we've got over 5,000 samples in the lab for which we're waiting for assays to come back. And we expect these to define more drill targets and that will then hopefully lead to more discoveries. So that's Mora and Coogin. Just quickly on the other two projects. Dingo Rocks, it's in southeast Western Australia. It's about 100 kilometres south of Norsbyn. It's located on the margin of the Albany Fraser province, close to the Yule Craton. So sort of broadly a similar geological setting to Nova and Tropicana, which are located to the northeast. We picked our tenement up because there was a series of magnetic highs which had never been adequately explored. We think these things have had potential to be mafic, ultramafic intrusions, prospective for nickel, copper, PGE mineralisation. I suppose broadly analogous to what you see Galileo intersecting up near Norsman recently. The area is largely covered by transported material and previous exploration has been ineffective. Interestingly, since we've acquired this tenement and since the float, Amica Gold, who have the tenement immediately to the west, have been intersecting or reporting some pretty significant gold results. 23 metres of 5 grams per tonne gold is pretty significant in anyone's terms. So that's pointing to the metal fertility in the region And it's the same sort of geology we have on Dingo Rock. So that's promising from a exploration point of view. Since we floated at Dingo, we've done 2 phases of geophysical work at Dingo Rocks. We've done a gravity survey similar to what we've done at Mora. This has identified a number of relatively dense bodies consistent with being mafic, ultramafic intrusions. We plan to get in here and follow these up with ground EM and probably reconnaissance drilling. Additionally to that, the regional magnetic data identified a number of pipe-like features. We have no idea what these are like, what these are caused by, but we've got in and have done some detailed magnetics over a small area there, and we've confirmed the presence of, we've confirmed that these things are real. So we have both magnetic and gravity targets to follow up, and we look forward to drilling some of these later this year. Yalwest, as I mentioned, it's in the northwestern part of the Yule Craton. This is an area that's never been explored previously. We picked it up because there's magnetic features there that have never been explained again, which we think are remnant greenstones. This area has basically been mapped as unprospective or non-prospective granitoids, so that's the reason it hasn't been explored. But the magnetic data and additionally the gravity data would suggest that we're dealing with more than just barren granitoids up here. So we've done a short reconnaissance trip. We've confirmed we do have other rock types in this area. And now we're preparing to do a first pass geochemical program over the project just to see whether there's any anomalous metals in the area. So that's basically it. So just to sum it up, why Minerals 260? Well, I've said it before and people are probably sick of me saying it, but we were smart enough to be one of the early movers in the Julamar mineral province. Follow-up work has reported some very good results from at least 3 prospects. Beyond those, we have a strong target pipeline that we're ready to drill. We have the access agreements in place that we need to actually get on the ground. The area is still largely unexplored. We've been exploring here for at the most 2 to 3 years. When you compare this with the eastern goldfields of Western Australia, where there's been exploration since the 1960s, you can see the potential upside, not only on our ground, but in the region itself. We have a board and management team that know how to find them and importantly know how to mine them, so that's critical as well. And our cash position of around $25 million means that we're well positioned not only to advance our existing projects, but also to acquire new opportunities if they so arise. Thank you very much. Nicholas.
Thanks very much, David. We'll run through a few questions. Just
Sure.
a reminder to everyone listening in, just fire in your questions and I'll get them on my phone here, so shoot them in. But just to kick off with a couple, David, you've effectively got ore grade intercepts over a number of areas. Yep. at the project. What's your strategy going to be with the next round of drilling? Will you be sort of aiming to look for resource potential in those areas, or are you still looking at the bigger picture, if you like?
No, we'll follow those up. So the next phase of work will just be to step out long strike and down dip to see whether we do have a coherent, continuous zone of mineralisation and try to scope out the potential size of it, how long, how thick is it. And then once we've got a handle on that, we'll go to resource drilling as soon as we can. We've got the capacity to do both, so while we're advancing those prospects, we'll be also looking at the bigger picture as well.
Just in terms of the style of mineralisation that you've found, we think Julamar, we think chalice, nickel, copper PGEs. We've obviously seen gold and copper gold today. Do you have an idea about what we're dealing with? What sort of beast we're dealing with here?
Yeah, this is probably my least favourite question I get asked, Nicholas. Listen, we don't know. It's a bottom line. I suspect we're looking at some sort of modified, structurally controlled Archean systems that have been deformed and metamorphosed. But bottom line is we don't really know. The risk of being blasphemous to all the intellectual geologists out there, I don't really care. I'll go where the mineralisation is, and if it's big enough and high grade enough to mine, I'll worry about what model it fits into later on.
Yep. And in terms of the timing of the program, David, can you give us a bit of a colour around?
We're hoping to get a better feel for the timing of and how much drilling we're going to do over the winter period. We've certainly got OK from one farmer to get up there and do some drilling. We're hoping to get the OK from another farmer to get up there. Again, when I talk about a winter drilling program, I'm not talking about drilling in the middle of crops, in paddocks. I'm talking about drilling on the edges of existing cropping areas and doing it in such a way we don't impact on on their activities. Listen, we're hopeful within the next week or so we'll be in a position to actually put some detail around the amount of drilling we're going to do and where we're going to drill. But,
fantastic.
and we are confident that we are getting phone calls from drilling companies now, so it looks like things are loosening up a bit when it comes to access to drill rigs. So we're confident that we can get some drilling done well before the end of, the crops come off in November and December, and then beyond that we still have a heap of work to do as well.
And in terms of news flow, there's still assays from air core?
Yeah, I mean, there's assays from air core, and the geochemical sampling. They're really more geochemical techniques. We could get lucky like we did at Mynt and Jag and Intersection. The air core drilling is very wide spaced, it's shallow, it's probably testing 10-20% of the stratigraphy at most. So really it's just about intersecting the margins of a mineralised system. But you never know, like Mynt, we went straight into a mineralised system, so we may get that as well. So we're still waiting for those assays to come in, and the next question everyone asks is how long does that take? Well, it takes 2 to 3 months, unfortunately. So we're expecting to see results starting to flow next month, hopefully. Yeah.
I did get a question earlier from an investor. If you could just talk a bit more about the Coogin JV and where that's up to, and if that is that a different style?
No,
or is it essentially more of the same?
It's probably more of the same. It's just structurally modified, similar styles of mineralisation. But again, early days. We've done no deep drilling on the Coogin ground. We're looking forward to getting in and drilling some holes. And so we don't actually have, in Coogin, we don't actually have any intersections in the fresh bedrock. It's either weathered, everything's weathered, or it's just a geochemical sample. So again, it's early days. We are seeing extensive anomalism there. And we've got some, it's coincident with some pretty robust geophysical anomalies. So, I think we're confident or positive that we get onto something there. And we're looking at doing that later this year.
Fantastic. Yeah. And just finally, Dingo rocks. Timing on that?
I'm actually sitting down with the native title. We've got an access agreement with the native title group already executed. I'm just sitting down with them tomorrow to actually talk about organising a heritage survey. So we hope to get that done, in a fairly timely manner, and then it's a matter of going through the typical government permitting and then onwards with the drilling program. So hopefully third quarter this year. By the time it's just a reality. By the time we work our way through the systems, your bureaucracy, but that's what we're looking at. The third quarter this year.
Yeah. And just a final one to wrap up, David. So you've got a strong balance sheet. You raised, and I think that was the whole idea of doing a sizable raising, and obviously market conditions a bit different now.
Yep.
How long do you see that lasting?
Well, it's going to last us a good 2 years at least. We can advance, we can slow down depending on results. So if we do get onto something red hot, then we can push the button and go harder. We'll probably have $15 million in 12 months' time in the bank if we just keep going steady. So it's going to keep us going for quite a while, but it gives us the flexibility to really do what we like going forward and not be reliant on going back to the market. And you're right, that was the whole purpose of raising $30 million at the time. We could see the market, the appetite was there, and we just didn't want to have to be in a position where we had to go back to the market in 12 months' time to raise more money to advance things like Mynt and Zest and Angepena. So. And given what the market's done, I'm glad we did it.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, David.
Thank you, Nicholas.
That covers it. Excellent.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.